it's predicted that 80% of the current homes in New Zealand will be around in 2050. And that's quite a remarkable stat. That means that to get those homes up to becoming a super home, you need to have a super renovation. And there's a massive space to fit there. And if it was for any kind of building business, that renovating market is a lot bigger than the new building market. It's much, much bigger. So it's an exciting space to be playing in, and then to deliver something that's high quality, best, better, best. Yeah, I think it's exciting.
We have a lot of this old existing housing stock that's substandard. So in Europe, they have a bit of a culture of refurbishment and improving buildings, and a lot of it's legislated in the different countries, like in Germany and other places like that. They have to upgrade buildings to a certain standard, and they have upgrade codes. Okay, so when you upgrade a building, this is your minimum. So it's probably more developed than what we're dealing with. We've just got a building code, new or existing, we've got the rules around it. They are definitely looking at trying to make better houses, healthier houses through that refurbishment. You have two choices when you're confronted with an existing building, or three. Leave it as it is and do nothing, so therefore not a good outcome. Two, refurbish it, or three, knock it down. And so if we ignore the first one and assume we're doing something with this parcel of land that has a building on it, we have those two choices. And depending on the location, knocking it down, we may be able to build more buildings to a higher standard and perhaps provide housing for more people. So that's definitely, you see that in the inner city spaces, and where we're getting a bit of intensification as the population grows and as we try to use less land out on the fringe and that. So that's cool, that's new build and that. But with the renovation, it was quite interesting just understanding retrofit, and my motives for not liking it were I just hate peeling back the wall and finding stuff that I didn't know was there and nobody could possibly know. And how do you estimate a fee on something that you can't see and all that sort of stuff. Those are my reasons. But when you put the super home lens on it, and I'm going to take this house and I'm going to improve the health outcomes and the energy efficiency outcomes, all of a sudden I quite like that challenge. If we work on the assumption that the old house is damp, there's mold issues, where what can we do to it in the first instance to improve it? One is obviously add a decent, efficient heating source, and two is putting in a ventilation system. And so that way you are bringing in fresh air into the building and you're moving moisture out. I hadn't really looked at renovation from a ventilation point of view. I just looked at it, not necessarily, we're always going to put insulation in the walls and improve the insulation in the roof, and no matter what windows we put in, they'll probably be better than what's there and that sort of stuff. But now you start to look at it as an opportunity to improve the house and make it better.
Virtually anything you renovate these days is going to be better than what's already there anyway. So just by the merit of them doing it, they're going to be doing it better. But I guess the conversation is fairly similar to if we're approaching a new house, and that we'll have the same discussions about how we build the walls and how we insulate them, what windows we're going to do. Do we use this opportunity to actually replace the windows in the rest of the house at the same time and upgrade those? So there is some discussion about, well, how much of the existing house are we going to bring up to the standard of what we're doing in this new part? A lot of that's obviously driven by what's their reasons for renovating in the first place. If they need 2 extra bedrooms for a growing family and that's all the money they've got to spend, well, we'll just make sure we do those 2 bedrooms really well. If they want to modernise the house and they want to live in it for a long time and they've decided to retire there, then we'll say, well, let's give this house the once over and do it right from the beginning so that you get the benefit of it. So yeah, it's a lot of it's just about discussion about what's their long-term plan for the house, what's affordable, and then fitting in, doing things as best we can within those parameters.
wherever possible, we will keep the older house. That's not always possible because it can be in the wrong location on a site, but particularly in Addington, where it's an older suburb, there are some great villas around, and so we do retrofit them with better glazing, better insulation. When you pull these houses apart, they do have really good bones. You can see how poorly they've been insulated and built in the past, having that reliance on wood burners and way too hot a heat source. So it is a really nice challenge to keep these, but we think it's important for the heritage of Addington. We have 2 building crews now because of that one of them does small renovations and one of them is our new build crew, and they just specialise it. But you treat the new homes and the old homes in the same way. You're trying to get airtightness, efficiency, and acoustic value and comforts.
You know, my approach is with retrofits. I mean, you still can have a nice architecturally designed house, and we can still look at natural ventilation, looking at passive solar gain. Although it is a little bit more kind of tricky to do that probably with the passive solar to kind of get that in there. And then looking at the technical specifications of what looking at the R values and how we're going to basically create that thermal envelope in that existing kind of retrofit. I mean, yeah, I mean it is a little bit kind of more complicated, but that's okay. I think that I think working with a good designer or architect, to kind of help you kind of navigate that is obviously kind of one of the keys to pulling it off. I mean, things like your thickness of the walls, and typically, I mean, if you're renovating, your walls are going to be about 90 millimeters, so which is a little bit harder to kind of get in that kind of additional kind of R value for your walls. And then looking at your insulation, your subfloor insulation, I mean that's easy enough to do. With retrofits, it's identifying what the kind of the restraints are with kind of wall cavities, seeing what kind of R values you can fit into your kind of walls and your roof, or finding kind of creative ways to max out those kind of R values.